Hey, y'all.
Hola, welcome to 30 Minutes Down South. She's Allison.
And he's Carlos, and we are two top producing realtors.
With two extremely different Southern upbringings.
Join us each week as we explore the Lake Murray area with our special guests.
Welcome, Allison, to another episode of 30 Minutes Down South.
Hi, Carlos.
Episode number 51.
Yes. How are you?
Well, I wanted to keep talking about what we're talking just for a little bit about movie sets. And we're talking about movie sets because if you pay attention on the YouTube, you're going to see that Allison has a different shirt of the interview, but it's the same shirt that she used in the intro for the past episode.
I know.
So we were talking about we need a wardrobe supervisor in here because I was explaining to her there was a biggest issue when you're shooting a movie. You're shooting the same scene, and that scene you can shoot it for an extended period of time, a week or 2 weeks. And it's the same scene that is going to last 1 minute on TV, but it's been shot in, so you have to take care and make sure that the all the clothing and accessories are the same. The bear and the male and the mustache are the same. One of the difficult ones is when there's a scene with a cigarette, and there's different shots. The cigarette has to be in sequence because
to be the same length.
To be the same length because you don't want to have a conversation with a cigarette and every shot the cigarette is longer, shorter.
Right.
And you were mentioning that your daughter loves to do that.
She loves to pick up on things like that. She's very detail-oriented when it comes to that. Clearly, I am not because I totally messed that up on our last one. But that's all right.
I kept it simple, so I'm having the same clothes for the last 2 episodes.
Yes.
That doesn't mean that I didn't shower and change. I do. It's just like we're recording back-to-back episodes on the same day. That way we can have a little bit of control with our scale. That is getting busy now.
Getting
spring
busy.
season.
Spring season.
Spring's in the air.
Spring is in the air.
Is that a song? I hear it all the time, and I've always figured out there was a song.
I don't know. I think it's just a saying.
Should be a song. Spring is in the air. Oh yeah, spring is in the air. See, I'm gonna give you that for free.
You need to sell more real estate.
And in order to sell more real estate,
leave the
what
singing
we need
to others.
Yeah. In order to sell more real estate, we need to talk to a builder.
We do. I get the question all the time.
What's the question you get all the time?
Like, how much does it cost to build a house? I can't find what I like. I just want to build.
People asking for your phone number.
Yeah, no. So anyway, we're talking to a builder today, a good friend of yours that you highly recommend.
Yeah, that is correct. I actually seen his. I've seen his work. One of the most amazing ones is his own house. It really is a very, very beautiful house. Perfectly done. Great flow, great space for entertaining. I mean, he's very talented, and I've seen a bunch of. And you probably have seen some. You just don't know.
That he was the builder.
That Matt was behind that. But let's hear about him. Let's hear directly from him.
All right.
And welcome, Matt Gilpin, to 30 Minutes Down South. How are you today, Matt?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me on, guys.
Hey, Matt. I'm excited that you're on. I have not seen your work in person, but Carlos was showing me some stuff before you got on the call, and it is beautiful. So tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that words of encouragement there. Matt Gilpin, owner of Gage Construction, started Gage Construction in April of 2009. Had experience within the residential industry, actually starting out in 1994, I believe it was. So that kind of dates me as far as my age. Started out in Denver, Colorado, working in the production building sector of residential construction, and started out as an assistant superintendent and worked my way up within a national company to be a director of construction within their headquarter division. Did that for about 13 years and went to a regional builder in Denver, Colorado as well, and did that for about 2 years, and then had the fortunate opportunity to move out to South Carolina. Came out here in 2008 and started Gage Construction, as I may have mentioned, in April of 2009, and it's just grown from there.
Right at the height and the peak of the 2009 debacle of housing, right? That was
Oh, it was fun. When I started Gage, I couldn't it wasn't paying the bills. I had to get another job and do Gage part time until we got to a point where we were able to go full time. I say we, me and my wife, we were able to go full time with Gage and not have to have that secondary stable income.
Mm-hmm.
That was probably about 2011, 2012, somewhere in there, where I made the choice that I was either going to serve, my other boss at the other company I was working for, or I was going to go full time with Gage, and obviously went full time with Gage and haven't looked back.
And Gage, it's funny every time I hear you talking about Gage, about your business, because I know Matt pretty well, and Gage is actually the name of his son. I met him in the baseball field. Surprise, surprise. Terrific baseball player. Great. He hit a really, really, really good home run on Irma Little League opening day. It was awesome to watch. But
so which came first, the business or the son?
So I get that question. I always think, gosh, that would be weird if I named my son after the business. The boy came first. Actually, and it's funny. It's logistically it's weird because Gage was still inside his mama when we knew we were going to name him Gage. His name's actually Matthew Gage, and he's not a junior, so we call him Gage. But he was still inside his mama at the time when I started Gage Construction. We knew we were going to name him Gage, so I said, you know what, I'm gonna start this business. I'm gonna name it Gage Construction. And that's how the name came about. His mom knew she was going to name him Gage. She loved that name. And I said, all right, well, that's what I'll name the company then.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. Matt, so I believe that obviously your bread and butter and the jobs that you love the most are building brand new homes from scratch, from the bottom up. But you also do renovations, correct? Can you guide me a little bit towards what's the difference, how you treat them in difference, which part do you take the most?
Well, when we first started Gage Construction, the bulk of our work, both from a production standpoint as well as a financial standpoint, was remodels and additions. And it actually started out smaller, if you will. And that's a relative term, whether it be bathrooms or a screen porch or something like that. And over the years, it has grown significantly to larger remodels, additions into the hundreds of thousands of dollars. And every once in a while, we get sprinkled in a custom home or a new construction. Now, considering the bulk of my experience from 94 to now has been new construction, whether it be on the production side or it be on the custom side. But as we progressed in the business, we started getting more inquiries about new construction and custom homes. I would say as the pandemic reared its ugly head, that's when the new construction piece started to pick up quite a bit. That's when the custom home inquiries started to pick up quite a bit. And I would say around 2019 to 2020 is when that kind of flipped. The production as well as the financial piece, we started seeing more custom homes than we did remodels and additions. The basics of what we do and how we treat each client is going to remain the same, whether it's a remodel addition, whether it's a screen enclosure, it's a whole house gut and remodel, or if it's a $1.5 million custom home. We're going to treat them the same. We may approach it slightly different because of the volume, because of the involvement. But the customers, the clients, they're going to get the same level of service from us no matter what.
So walk me through what a custom home looks like. I know, different builders do it a different way. As a consumer, am I going to bring plans to you? Do y'all have plans to choose from? Do you have an architect you work specifically with? How does the beginning of that process work?
Well, usually we like to see the customer or the client bringing those plans or a very good idea of what those plans are going to be. And we like to be with that client throughout the process, whether they have their plans in place or whether they need to get the plans drawn up. We do have contacts that we work with quite a bit, quite often, whether that be an architect, a plan designer, or just simply a draftsman. And, we wrote an article. I actually wrote an article in the Chapin magazine back a year ago, where it broaches a lot of these questions as to what's the appropriate step, what's the first step that I should take. And there's never really a one-size-fits-all answer. But usually what we like to do is the first step is getting a set of plans, a good working set of drawings in place. That way, if they're talking with multiple contractors, or if they're just talking with one contractor, everybody is working off the same sheet of music. The contractor, the homeowner, the customer, if there's agents involved, real estate agents involved, as well as any of the trade partners that may be involved in the initial stages of the process. Everybody's working off the same sheet of music. Now, it doesn't mean you need to have a final set of plans in place, but it is important to at least have a preliminary set of plans in place so everybody has appropriate initial expectations. Then you start moving forward from there through the process of due diligence.
How many, in average and in your experience, how many times have you had a client that has never been part of the home ownership and wants to build a house as their first house? My question is, when I had those clients, that they've never owned a house before, I'd say maybe you want to buy a resale first, live in it, and understand what a homeowner means, and then you can build your own. That's my approach to them. Obviously, for you, you maybe have a different one.
Right. No, I think that what you described is legitimate and it's logical. I never want to turn away anybody coming to me saying they want to build a home, but I also don't want to be a part of a process that they may not have a full understanding of as well. What home ownership entails, let alone how you're going to live in the house and the amount of money that you're potentially going to spend on what you hope to be your forever home. And then once you get in it, you're like, man, this isn't logical, or this doesn't flow well, or it's not functional, or it doesn't fit my lifestyle, or I'm planning on having 3 kids, or I'm planning on getting married, whatever it may be in life's events. We want to make sure that house is designed and works for them. So I've not had the opportunity to have anybody come to me and say, I've never been a homeowner. I've always lived in apartments or townhomes or something like that, or rentals, but I've never been a homeowner and I'm ready to build a home. I've not had that. Now, I've had plenty of first-time people that have never built a home before. Mm-hmm. I've had plenty of those, but I've never had the opportunity to have that discussion where somebody's just never owned a home, but they want to build a home.
So if, I'm all about scenarios. If I come to you, have our plans, choose you as my builder, do y'all walk through the process? Like for me particularly, I always worry about all the little decisions because I have such a hard time making decisions. I think about, what color floors, the faucets, the cabinetry. Do you have people in place that help with that? Or is that more on the customer themselves to try and decide, what it would be best for them in that particular situation?
Right. Well, that's the beauty of custom home building is that you, the customer, are in the driver's seat. You are going to be dictating the pace at what we're doing or how fast we're going, but you're also going to be dictating the needs that you have so that I, the builder, can accommodate that. Now, you may have some needs that just aren't realistic, or I shouldn't say needs, but wants that aren't realistic. And that's something that we need to talk about. And that's where the due diligence phase really comes into play. Because there's a lot of communication that needs to happen on the front end, whether it be the plans, whether it be the desire that you have for design, things like that. If we get in that scenario that you're talking about, that you've chosen me as your builder, what are some of the steps that we need to take? Well, the first is making sure that we have the plans finalized, that every piece of information is on those plans that is needed for us to finalize the bid, permit, and build off of. The other component that we're going to be looking at is the specifications document. That document gets into the weeds and the details of what the plans may not have. Plans are a good set of documents that show, where a wall is being placed, or how much square footage you have. But it doesn't tell you what type of tile you're putting in that shower. It doesn't tell you that you're going to go with a oil rub bronze fixture or a brushed nickel fixture. That's where the specifications document comes into place. These two documents are then going to be used with setting the appropriate expectations of the components. But when you get into the part of what size tile, what color tile, what type of countertop, granite, quartzite, if you're not comfortable making those decisions, those are something that my trade partners as well as myself will help with. But we also engage interior designers that are more than capable, well-versed in the products and how you're planning on using those products. We'll bring them into the fold at the appropriate time to ensure you're making informed decisions for how you intend to live in the house so that it's going to last as long as you want it to last. It's going to be as maintenance-free as you want it to be, and it's going to suit your lifestyle and your needs. So we'll bring them into the fold as necessary to help you through the process and, quite frankly, hopefully make it as least stressful as possible.
Matt, in your experience, what would be the number one mistake that people make before or during the home building process? What's something that you will love to erase as a possibility?
There's a few things, but I think probably the thing that sticks out the most to me is home improvement shows. Don't use that. Don't use that as your barometer of how things should go or will go during your construction process, during your project.
Wow, are you saying that don't believe everything you watch on TV? That's breakthrough right there.
You're going to get all the drama. You're either going to get the worst of the worst, or you're going to get oh my gosh, we didn't know this wall was there, or we didn't know that this pipe was in this. I mean, it's just you're going to get drama. Don't use that as what to expect during the build process. Any good quality contractor, anybody worth their weight in salt that's in this industry is going to be open, is going to be transparent. They're going to tell you what they know and what they don't know so that it can be a effective, efficient relationship through the process.
Yeah, I can agree with that. It's kind of the same thing as people who watch House Hunters.
Yeah.
And then they come to us and we're like, that's not really how the process works. So let's back up here a minute. What are some of the major trends right now that you see, and what are some trends that you feel like are going away?
A lot of the trends that I see from an architectural standpoint are going to be the modern farmhouse. I see that quite a bit from an architectural style, as I said. Some of the trends that I see going away on the finishes, the shiplap, that's a trend that I think has seen its day and it's moving on. I think another trend that we see more of is people more aware of the house, not just as a sanctuary, but more of a utility. And what I mean by that is home offices. With the pandemic, you didn't see a whole lot of home offices being integrated into a design. And now we see that quite often. We learned from the pandemic that things can change at the drop of a hat. There's a lot of people that do work from home. And I think in our industry, whether it be as a contractor or in the real estate industry, that's always been the case for us. We've always worked from home. We've always worked odd hours. But now within a lot of other sectors, we're seeing that start to take effect within the design of homes. As a matter of fact, the one home that we just finished out on the lake, that actually had 2 offices built into it. Mm-hmm. One for the husband, one for the wife.
Great. I'm one of the biggest thing that I see the most with people when they're talking about additions, even when you're showing houses and they have in their head, well, I can take this wall down, I can make the kitchen bigger, I can do this and I can do that. And in my head, of course, I've been doing this for over 11 years. I very fairly accurate on the amount of money that it's going to cost them, all the plans that they were doing. But I've come to realize how off a lot of people are, when they say, oh,
they
all
underestimate.
Or underestimate or overestimate, both ways. But they're, and I'm not saying everybody, there's people that are, fairly on point. So my question to you is, how do you manage those expectations with clients, or how do you do like a pre-budgeting meeting? Because in our industry we do have something very important, which is the pre-qualification letter, so we actually know exactly how much that guy or that person is able to spend. How's that process on the construction side?
Well, that's a great question, because typically what I try to do is on the front end, we have our initial meeting. And that meeting, whether it's new construction or remodel addition, that meeting is going to entail discussion and review. Let's just, for sake of what we're talking about right now, a remodel addition. That's going to entail meeting at the structure, at the home, reviewing as-built conditions, talking about the customer's expectations, whether that be, how the layout's going to work, or the colors that they want, or some of the finishes that they want, or their expectations of the contractor. They only want to work with somebody that has this type of experience. But we're talking about expectations. We're talking about potential encumbrances, obstacles. What are some potential obstacles that need to be overcome, thought out through this due diligence process? And the final piece is going to be budget. That's a very uncomfortable situation, or an uncomfortable topic sometimes, because we're as a society, we're in this point where I'm not going to lay my cards on the table, because you're going to take me to the cleaners if I do. If I have a budget of $50,000, and as a contractor it's only going to cost you $30,000 to do it, you're going to charge me $50,000. There are going to be some scrupulous people out there that will do that. But I'm asking that question because it helps me to determine how to best service you, the client. And that may be from the suggestions of like, there's no way this what you want done is going to be done within that budget. Or maybe I can suggest certain types of finishes or value engineering that will help get you into that budget. So we talk about that. Once we get through that meeting, what I like to do is go back through and do a rough estimate. This is just going from a 10,000-foot view of the project to see if I can meet their budget, or what their expected budget is. And I can turn a rough estimate fairly quickly, within 3 to 5 days, and provide them with that number or with that range, again, to see if it can meet their budgetary expectations. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But always keeping in mind that it's just insight as to where I think the project costs are going to be.
And speaking of project costs, I know I have a client who I sold a lot back in 2018. He got his quote, decided, I'm going to wait about a year before I start construction. Well, we all know what happened then. And I ran into him probably 6 months ago, and he said, Allison, I got another quote. Same exact plans, same exact finishes. He said, it's gone up almost $100 a square foot. Mm-hmm. I mean, so what are you seeing? We all know costs went way up during the pandemic. Matt, have things come back down any, or are we at a stabilization? What is it looking like?
Well, I think the best way to answer that, so there are a few components here. One of the components that was so readily talked about was loose lumber. So I believe it was in July of 2019, per 1,000 board feet, loose lumber was at $350 per 1,000 board feet. At the height of our pandemic, and I'm going off recollection here, so I may be slightly off, but at the height of our pandemic, I think it was around May of 2021, that loose lumber was at up to $1,700 per 1,000 board feet. So $300 to $1,700. Now, that's come back down within the realm of reason. The loose lumber has come back down within the realm of reason. But mechanical grade lumber is still high. A lot of the commodities that are out there is still high. So what I tell a lot of the clients right now is we have seen stabilization. I don't know if plateau is the right word, but we've seen stabilization as to where we don't see the crazy double-digit inflation rates across the board, whether it's going to the store buying eggs or it's buying a lumber pack for your project. We've seen stabilization, but that the inflation rate is down to single digits, but it doesn't mean we've got deflation. So everything that we saw increase during the pandemic has not decreased necessarily. The one commodity that I mentioned, lumber, truly has. It's gotten back into that realm of reasonability. But the other components, petroleum-based products, things of that nature, have not decreased. They've stabilized. Does that answer your question?
It does, yes. Thank you.
Yeah, it makes that's why it makes building very difficult, Matt. And we're almost reaching out to our time limit, but I got a couple more questions. The first one is going to be: what do you advise people that are considering right now? Hey, I've never built, but I'm gonna look into buying land so I can build my own house. What would be your advice to that particular public?
Gosh, I think the first thing I would do is, there's a lot of due diligence that can be done with just a raw piece of land. If you're looking to build on that piece of land, is have a good idea of the plan that you want to build. Oftentimes, most plans can be built on any lot, but you are going to be limited based on your budget. Because if you come in buying plan on building a house that doesn't have a basement in it, but then you buy a lot that has significant grade or topography to it, where it now renders it more of a walkout than anything, well, now you're adding to that cost to build. So trying to run parallel with identifying land, but also having a preliminary set of plans or a house plan that you like in place. The due diligence, whether you're on water or whether if you're not on water. Understanding what limitations that you may have with the use of that land. What's the availability of utilities? What type of water do you have on that land? Is that going to impact, how that house is going to be built on that particular piece of property? Septic. Do you have septic available or are city utilities available? Lots of those questions need to be talked through. I would say the biggest thing that I would encourage anybody that's considering building, purchasing land and building, is engage quality, knowledgeable realtors such as you guys, and engaging, at least from a preliminary standpoint, a good quality, reputable builder to help walk through that process. You're not tied into building with that builder by any means, but at least having a better idea of some of the questions that need to be asked and the processes that need to be thought through.
Yeah, that's a great question. And the other question that's a great answer. The other question that I had is a little bit lighter. And in all your years of experience, have you ever had somebody coming with a crazy idea saying, I want a bat cave underneath the floor, or I want a prep room, and a hidden one, or I want I don't know. Anything crazy that's on top of your head and that you can share with us?
Yeah, I'm not. I lead a pretty boring professional existence, I guess. I haven't had any of the craziness go on. I will say this: we did have the opportunity a few years back to be a partner with the Homes for Our Troops, and that was a house that was built in Chapin for a returning service member that was injured over in the Middle East. And we were able to build this house so that it was completely ADA compliant for accessibility. One of the requirements of Homes for Our Troops is they have to have a safe room. So this was a slab-on-grade house. And we had to build this safe room that could withstand what was projected to be like a Category 5 hurricane or something like that, where we had the master closet was poured in, a CMU block wall. The ceiling was poured in place on metal decking. We had this massive door into the closet, this metal door with a multi-point lock system on it. It was just one of the requirements that organization had. that we built, and I just thought it was very interesting. Like, if there's a projection for a tornado, I'm running up to the sergeant.
You know where you're headed.
Right, right.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, man. We appreciate it. Just a little bit, last one. Just let us know where people can find you and how can they contact you if they're thinking about remodeling or building their own new house.
Absolutely. Well, thank you guys for the time. If anybody's interested and wants to talk a little bit more, find out more about who Gage Construction is, or maybe have a little bit more insight onto their project, they're more than welcome to look us up online at Gage Construction SC. Keep in mind, Gage is spelled Gage, GageConstructionSC.com. They can also call me at 803-931-6143. And I always encourage everybody who's looking to get into the endeavor of building, remodeling, addition, man, get online, see the reviews, find out what people are saying about the builder you're entertaining, whether that's through Google, the Better Business Bureau, or even getting onto the LLR website to make sure they're appropriately licensed for what you want.
Absolutely.
Good advice.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And that includes not just people who are considering buying, also agents when they're looking at new construction, who built that house.
Yeah.
We do a little bit of, a lot of research at the front end. That way we don't have to fight in the back end. But that's very, very, very important piece of advice, Matt. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much for your time.
Yes, thank you guys for your time. I appreciate it. I was a little nervous coming on here, but hopefully I wasn't too wordy.
Oh, no, it was great.
No. And you look very handsome as usual, so you're fine.
Well, I did my hair up for you guys.
So, Matt, I didn't want to ask you this in the recording, but,
Are we off? Are we done with the recording?
Yeah, we're done.
Okay.
We're done. I cut you off. No more.
And that was cool.
That was great. Very good information.
Except for you cutting me off that abruptly.
Well,
You hungry?
I'm hungry.
I can tell you're hungry when you're like, all right, move.
Gotta go.
Anyway.
No, Matt did a great job. I really would love to go see some of his work in person. If you have a minute, check out his website because he's got a beautiful website with pictures of his work, and it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, the website is one of the best websites I've ever seen for builders. You know, it really is clean look. Is that the word that kids use now?
Yeah.
It looks clean. And all the information there, very beautiful homes, very beautiful additions. It's top notch.
Absolutely.
Definitely one of the builders that I like to recommend when it's a custom home. Don't get me wrong. There are other we work with every builder. You know,
Yes.
we don't want to be like, oh, this is the only
We're
builder.
not discriminating.
No, we're not. But you know, you can tell that we do have a good relationship, and this is a builder that I highly recommend. I mean, like hands down.
Hands down.
Hands down. Alison, what's going on with you? You're hungry. You're so hungry right now.
So
I can tell you. Anyway, never record a podcast when hungry. How about that? Let's make that rule number one. Okay. Anyway, luckily for you, we hit our 30-minute mark.
We did.
So you don't have to go through this nightmare
Thank
of
Next week, I'm eating before.
hunger. Anyway, thank you very much for listening, and let's wish Alison a good meal,
Good lunch.
good lunch today.
Thanks. Bye.